Dial back to pre-1973 America, and all of our engines required lead gasoline. So what they would have to do is to put lead additives into the gasoline to make those engines work, because the lead would fill in the little holes in the pings in the engine that would be created as the car ran. So you can just imagine what it's like to sit in a car like that. I felt as if I was in some sort of virtual Flint, Michigan at that point, because the pollution was so extreme, and you can just imagine what it's doing to the society, to the countryside, because of the lead that's being left off on the side of the roads that then gets put in the ecosystem. Now, to maintain those cars, you do not see in Cuba garages. You don't see, Jiffy Lubes. You don't see any of these sort of commercial car repair places. So they have to find ways to come up with parts to be able to maintain them. There are no parts available at any stores. There is no wholesale market for anything like that. So where do they find it? Well, it's through ingenuity. It's makeshift. They will sometimes take old Soviet trucks or tractors, chop them up, and put them in pieces in the cars to be able to make them work and to function in a certain way. So besides the fact that you see these old engines that go on this old technology that have real human consequences, you also realize that in this society, to be able to maintain those cars, they have to find ways to do it that are so completely different from the way we would expect in our country. They have to be ingenious, but they have to depend on a marketplace that doesn't exist for them to be able to keep those wonderful jewels of cars that we all romanticize about before we've gotten to Cuba. And then when you're in the cars, what do you see? Well, you do see a great deal of crumbling infrastructure. And effectively, you see an economic system that in many ways is as frozen in time as all of those cars are. I like to consider these cars a symbol of Cuba today. They're steeped in a degree of romance and revolutionary legend. They're still bound in so many ways to the United States, because these are all old American cars. And they're defined, and as Cuba is, it's defined in so many ways by the competing myths and images of half a century of socialism and isolation. So you get to Cuba, you see those cars, there's that wow factor, and then you look under the hood and you realize that Cuba is exactly as what Winston Churchill said about Russia in 1939, which he said, and I quote him, "A riddle wrapped in a mystery, inside an enigma."